Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today, and I'm sharing with you this layout that I created using Jen Hadfield's Chasing Adventures collection. A long time ago, somebody, when I posed the question, what would you like to see me create with, asked me to create with this, and I incorporated some of these Paige Evans digital cut files into it. So I am actually stash busting here. I have this stamp set that I got from Tuesday morning. That is a more recent collection. It's one of the fall collections, Pink Paisley. I can off of Auburn Lane, I believe. And so I'm going to use that stamp as a frame and stamp it on this white bow bunny paper that is also from Tuesday morning. What I've done on the right hand side over there is I have what I did was I took apart Paige Evans's one of her digital cut files. It's the X and the O. And I used it and created layers so that I had layers behind the floral that is through the left-hand side of the X and kind of the bottom left-hand side of the O, and so that you could see the different pattern papers and layer that up. What I did there just now was I created that frame, and I cut through the fussy cutting because you know what fussy cutting is, and it takes a long time. There's no need for me to talk you through that. And then I just put that black and white picture of my husband and I behind it. I am now, so what I'm doing is for the O's, I'm directly laying the back layer on top of underneath the, I'm putting the top layer on top of the bottom layer of color. Then for the X's, I'm slightly offsetting them. And the reason that I didn't offset the O's is because it didn't work. The way that the little knobbies on the O is, the offset looked kind of funny, and so the X's are offset, and I like the way that that kind of creates a shadow. It didn't create a shadow for the O's, it just had this funky look to it. And then I'm going to just arrange those on the page, and they really become the focal point of the page. In many ways, this could be considered a Valentine's Day layout, but it was not Valentine's Day and really had nothing to do with Valentine's Day. And the title of this is Love Your Kisses. So it's really more about the X's, the kisses, than the O's, because we're not hugging, and it's just about our relationship and our love. In fact, this was taken, the picture, in October. So I thought that I might put the picture in the middle and then surround the X's and the O's like an additional frame, kind of like the frame that is around the picture. But I didn't like the way that it split the X's and the O's, and it just was this really central focal point. I like the way that the X's and the O's kind of cascade, they waterfall down the page much better. And I incorporated the picture off to the side, so you didn't have this glaring central focal point, and your eye is able to move around the page much better. So that is the format that I'm going to go with. So what I'm creating with was I have the 12 by 12 paper pad, and then I also had from the Scraproom my kit using Chasing Adventures, so I had a couple of the embellishments, and then I've pulled out goodies from my stash that I'm going to use, and I'm going to incorporate that doily. I like that the doily is round and it adds to the circular element that the O's are, and that little basket on my right hand side that I'm reaching for stuff in there, it's my basket of cutoffs. So if I've created digital die cuts or cut digital die cuts, or even my manual cut dies and I have extras, I toss them into this basket. And so for times like now when I just want a butterfly or some leafy greens, but I don't want to have to go and cut them, I have already pre-cut stuff that I can use, and that's what I'm doing there. So I have the floral die that you see on the top right on that navy blue O, and then I have a couple of other florals that I want to have a floral to close that off. So the visual triangle is really in many ways the florals, and it's going to be the floral on that top right to the floral pattern paper beside the photo, and then the floral that is going to be at the bottom right there kind of create that visual triangle and guide your eye through the page there. While I have the X's and the O's, they kind of are more decorative, and I'm going to use a title that I will put in later on in this page. I thought I would use some of the cutoffs in that floral there, but it is too busy, and so I want that to be sort of simple and understated so that you don't have all this competition between some really actually busy papers. The interesting thing about these papers and this collection is if you go ahead and look at the collection is really, really bright. And there's actually a lot of primary color in it. There's a lot of blues and yellows and reds and greens. But I didn't go with what really is the main color palette in this collection. I went with sort of the more, they're still bright colors, but I went with the more subdued of the colors and the less primary of the colors. So if you look at this collection, this is really not all that representative of the collection itself. So look there at the cut aparts. You've got the yellow and the blue, and you've got a heavy black, and I really didn't use those. I am going to use this cut apart around the photo. I'm going to use it as a layer, and it does say bucket list. Going to the Atlanta Botanical Gardens was checking off something on our bucket list, and I just like the way that that pink and that green tie off. They kind of unite the page. So you've got all of that color heavy dominant on the right hand side, and by putting that layer behind the photo there, it unifies it so that you aren't stuck on just the right hand side of the page. So I've committed to all of these layers. This is essentially how this layout is going to look, and I'm just going to use my roller to adhere all of this down. And if you know me, I never adhere it down the way that I actually stuck it on the page, so we usually get some variation to that, and that is quite all right. So the reason I converted this picture, so there is a black and white photo, is because we were at the Atlanta Botanical Gardens, and so there's a lot of green behind us, but the green is not the same green as the greens that I've used here. And the photo really is more about us than it is about the botanical gardens, and so I wanted to keep the emphasis on the photo and the story of the photo more than the color of the photo, and that is why I converted that photo to black and white there. Let's see, what else can I tell you about this? So I am stash busting using Chasing Adventures, using a Paige Evans digital cut file. Paige has since released more versions of this cut file, but when I used it, I actually had to pull it apart. Deconstruct it is what I like to say, in order to get the layers, and I had to create those layers myself. This was not the format of the file either, but I do believe that her newly released versions, they're not newly, more recently released versions of this file are of it closer in resemblance to this, where you can reorganize it. I believe that this was just X's and O's set into a page as I used it. So I do recommend that you save your digital cutoffs if you don't use them, because you can see most of those files there have been, other than the X's and the O's, but the little leafy bits are bits and pieces that I have just saved over time. They always come in handy. You'll often see me actually reach into that little box of goodies there. So I wanted to move that over just a little bit. The photo, it needed to be a little bit closer to the X's and O's to provide that unity that I was looking for, and I also didn't want to be off the page. So I am going to work on the title here, and I think originally I was going to be very unoriginal, and I wanted to do Love Your Kisses in all of this gold, but there was no way that was going to fit. So then I thought that I would change the title and just go with Kisses. And in my usual fashion, I'm going to do the Suzanna title shuffle, and I'm going to have the title up here, but I am going to move that. And partly because I wanted to, again, I needed symmetry on this page, and I knew I was going to have journaling, and I needed a spot to put the journaling. And I didn't want to journal on that bucket list because I needed that color. I need that color to tie the whole thing together. So I'm going to leave Kisses there, and I like it not reading straight across all level because the X's and the O's aren't all level and things are ski-wampus, and so by having the letters ski-wampus, that works out perfectly. These are chipboard thickers, and those of you who scrap regularly know that chipboard thickers do not stick very well, so I'm using some of my ThermoWeb liquid adhesive to keep those stuck down. I have that little bit of gold up the top there to just tie everything together. If you look at the close-ups of the patterned paper, there is gold that is in those as well, so that kind of just puts the gold throughout the page and creates some unity throughout the pages. These are some Illustrated Faith acrylic hearts, and the colors tie in perfectly, and so I am stash busting through some of those. I believe those also came from Tuesday Morning. A lot of my stash does. It's either from the Scraproom kits or from Tuesday Morning lately. So what I am actually going to do is I'm going to use a label and put Love Your and then Kisses to complete the title. These are the close-ups. I hope you enjoyed this process video. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you're doing well. Take care. Come back soon.